Welcome to the Don Podcast, a Minnesota music conversation, recorded at CCX Studio, produced by Javi, engineered by Jimmy Morris. And now, here's Don.
We're joined on this episode by Ryan and Pony, Ryan Smith and Pony Hickson Smith. Kai Arns first introduced me to Ryan when he was doing his Teenage Rampage deal. That's the first time I met you. For Pony, the first time was a 100 Flowers show, and that's actually a lot more interesting, so we're going to start with that story. A buddy of mine took me down to Spring Inn for an outdoor show in the parking lot. There was 4 or 5 bands playing. 100 Flowers was one of them, and we were sitting there and we heard a couple of bands, and then just before you guys come on, he leans over and says, the bass player here is named Pony, and she has a fan club, so just wait till they get up here. And you came on, and there's like 3 girls next to us, and they just started screaming Pony the whole time. There were some people across the parking lot that were yelling your name, yelling all kinds of stuff at you. I believe somebody came up and gave you flowers at that show. That must be a great feeling to know that you bring that much joy to people when you're playing.
Oh, I'm gonna cry. Yeah, I don't remember it for some reason.
I think,
but I kind of do. I kind of remember the flowers, but
yeah.
yeah,
It was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had never seen anything like that, and the people just really, kind of engulfed you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was very well supported as far as that, and that was really encouraging because being in groups with people, sometimes it can be hard and discouraging. There can be a lot of competition, even if you don't intend that. Mm-hmm. So when you start to get more attention, and sometimes the lead singer doesn't like it, or and it's totally understandable. And when you're young, we were pretty young then. Maybe I was 19, 20, mm-hmm. 21. I'm trying to remember when I joined that band. Maybe I was 20 when I think, or when I had that band. So, or I joined it, or we started it. Mark and I started it.
Okay. Yeah, and then I talked, I think I was doing the television show at that time, so after the show I went up and talked to the lead singer, and I think he said that was like the last show that you guys played together, because I think I asked him to come on the show, and I think maybe that would have been, I think he said, no, I think this is one of the last shows that we're doing, and I don't think we're doing anything anymore, but so I don't know if that gives you a time frame or anything, but what I noticed of you being there and stuff is that you really had your own style on stage, you had your own fashion, you had your own the way you played and the antics and stuff, and it was really different from anything I'd ever seen before, and you still have that now, but then behind the scenes you're kind of quiet and reserved. Is that something that you put on for the show, or is that something that's conscious, or when you get on stage are you just more outgoing? And
I get like when I go on a stage, and I just noticed this because I just started teaching like fitness classes and stuff. I get like really poured in, like a lot of energy just gets poured in. I become hyper, but I become the person that I want to be. I can't handle being that person 24/7. Like I get like I put it out, and then I'm like, okay, I'm tired. Like I taught a class today, and like right now I'm like, I'm tired. But I feel good. It's like a good release. So right. I'm still being my authentic self. But yeah, I don't know.
It's a different. And then Ryan, you're pretty much the exact same on stage as you are off stage, which is kind of different for the two of you. I mean, you really have different because you're married. Your life together has got to be a little different than your life on stage. Just with your personalities and how things go. Do you find that she's a little different on stage than she is at home, or is she more outgoing? I've just known her from a few times that I've met her and stuff.
I think because I know her so well, it's all part of the same person, but
right.
So I get it. She was raised by 2 parents that are both deaf, and in that culture they use visuals far more than
I didn't think of that.
hearing culture, and I
Right,
think that's a
right.
big part of it is
Yeah, I
like
didn't think
facial
of that.
expressions
Yeah.
and
He just nailed it on the
movements,
head.
Yeah.
Like if I'm talking in front of my parents, I'm more animated. So it's like it's like a switch. Like here's deaf culture, here's hearing culture.
Right.
Because growing up in the I'm bicultural, bilingual, it was hard. It was hard to integrate into the hearing culture. I think like I did start off like rambunctious and loud and some kids didn't like it, or culture clashes all the
Right.
time. Some things that you could say in sign language I would say in English, and it'd be like, oh, you are mean, you said that, and I'm like, no, that's just how you describe it, you're just literal. So
Right.
and then it just kind of squashed me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I guess that's another way to look at
yeah,
it
that
too.
really made a lot of sense. Yeah, I didn't think of that, because I know that you do a lot of things with sign language and stuff. And I was going to ask you, Skylar, then, is she growing up with sign language and that? And
She knew a lot. Now she refuses to use it. And my mom reads lips really well, so that's easy to do that. That happened growing up too.
okay,
But you still have to be expressive to get your point across, even if my mom can read your lips.
and then 100 Flowers, was that your first band, or were you in some bands before that? Or
I was in a high school. We played basements band with, and I didn't, not in my high school. I hung out with these kids that went to Minnetonka High School, and there was this guy named Peter Lehmeyer, and we both had this like punk rock band called Hermaphrodite Whore, and we would just record our songs on a boombox, and it was very punk. It had some. Peter wrote songs on like Face to Face, and I wrote I don't know, like more goth kind of songs.
did you play bass in that then too?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you were bass in 100 Flowers. So, did you play other things besides bass, or were you basically a bass player there?
I was mainly a bass player. Like I did play guitar, but it was harder for me to pick up as fast, or I just didn't have the right teachers. But I would play it on my own. I could make up parts on my own and do all that, or pick out parts and listen. But bass I felt the most confident with.
And then after 100 Flowers, is that when you got into Mark Mulman, or did you write for 100 Flowers? Did you write some songs with 100 Flowers?
I would
or-
like co-write.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
write it all, or do you usually kind of always co-writing?
I do write. I'm more confident in my writing now. Like now, I always like to get help. Or sometimes, like with Ryan, it's like he's been really good at like, you finish the song and then you bring it to me, the demo to me, and then he'll put his like magical powers on it, sprinkle his magic fairy dust and make it come to life. So yeah.
Did you write some? So you wrote some stuff with the guy in 100 Flowers?
Yeah, just a little bit, little tweaks here and there, or like I come up with like vocal idea, or like for the chorus,
Okay.
or and he was very open to people writing. So and it wasn't just him; it was another guy too,
Okay. Okay.
Benjamin Bachman. Yeah, we all had stage names too.
Is that where you first started calling yourself Pony?
No, Mark Malman is how I got the name
Oh,
Pony.
okay.
So I
Okay.
was playing for Mark Malman while in the 100
okay.
Flowers.
Okay. And that's where you met Ryan then, was with Mark Mulman, right?
Yes. And he actually played in the 100 Flowers too. He
Oh,
played
really?
most of the guitar on the 100
Yeah,
Flowers.
surprise. I
So
know.
you- oh,
Well,
I didn't.
Yeah, I
So you-
wasn't on the like in the artwork or in the photos of the actual album, but I played a lot of the guitar on the actual record.
Oh, how about, but not live?
I did play some live shows.
Because I don't think
Yeah,
Oh,
there
you're
was
live,
there was a window of time that I don't remember how long it was. It felt like a long time, but it probably was less than a year where I was in the band. But I think I don't even remember the order how it happened. Either they asked me to play guitar on the record first, or I had already been playing live and then played on the record. But I felt like when the record was made,
Didn't
it wasn't
Ben
the
leave?
normal thing that I was doing. I felt like it was a thing I was stepping in or something. But it's so long ago. I don't remember.
Didn't like Ben leave and then you filled in or something?
I think Ben was in the band at the same time, but
Like Mark, like he couldn't like settle on things. Like we're always like we need a new drummer. We need so yeah, I was so many, right? When you agree, like it was just like a lot of things were just changing all the time.
Right. Yep.
And you just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But you never recorded with Mark Malman, right?
Oh, Mark Malman, I played on
Oh.
many of his records. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I go way back.
So you've done a lot of stuff. See, now I didn't know any of this stuff about
Yeah.
you playing a lot of records and stuff.
Oh,
you
yeah,
did a
yeah.
lot of studio stuff then back?
Yeah.
Where
So-
you were with the Millsmatics, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I've played with lots of different people. Let's see, at that time, I think I had been probably when you started playing with Malman, I had probably been playing with him for a number of years prior to
really?
that. Yeah. He had his first album, which was called The Tourist. Is that his first record? Anyway, that one had just came out when I started playing with him.
Okay.
And I was friends with the 12 Rods guys. Christopher McGuire was the drummer for Malman, and he got me to play with Malman.
Mm-hmm.
And then we made at least a couple records before you played with us, I feel like.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So we were doing stuff like we started at, was it Third Ear? We made some recordings there, and Flowers with Ed Ackerson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I remember when showed up to the first rehearsal that she played with Malman, and Malman just said, Kat's playing bass. And I thought he meant Kat Beelan, from Babes in Toyland, because we had just played her birthday party, and she was the only Kat that I knew, and he didn't say, oh, it's a different Kat. So we showed up, and I was so confused.
I was so nervous.
I was like,
Well, and
I didn't
ser-
want to just ask, like, wait a minute, who are you? I'm confused.
Well, another thing too, like this is super weird, like divine, whatever you want to call it, but like a voice in my head, like something came out and said, "You're gonna meet your husband in here."
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah. So it was.
You hear that so much that people say, I looked across the room and I noticed him, and then I just knew someday I was going to marry that guy or something. You hear these movie stars or people on these talk shows say that all the time, or we were just happened to be in the same place, and all of a sudden I just knew, and that you just knew that was going to be it. Did you have any?
And he was looking at me and he's confused to add to the cat.
Well, yeah.
And I'm like,
He's always
what's
looking
this
confused
guy?
though.
What's this guy? No
That's my
offense.
look.
It is his look, but it's awesome.
So how long did you play with Mark then? And did you ever play on some of his records then, or were you just touring?
I did some. I mean,
really?
I wasn't. I don't know.
'Cause I was always under the impression that you were just kind of the backup touring guys, but he did a lot of the music on his records on his own.
He had far superior players than me to do the roles on the records. I mean, he'd have me play a song here or a song there, and I don't mean to undersell myself. But I don't know. I think that was probably best for him. Yeah, to do that. But I'd be happy to play on a record for him if he wanted me to. But yeah, he's just got to do what works for his music.
And then when I was going to bring this up later, but when I was doing the TV show, which would have been later on when you guys were in the Millsmatics, but you did a video for a singer that you were the backup band in the video.
Yeah, you're right.
We played that, and I was so surprised when I saw it, 'cause I said, that's the Millsmatics backing her.
Oh,
Did you actually play that?
We didn't plan that. That was
It was keyboardist.
Aslan was her name.
Oh,
Yeah, it was shot. That was
you
shot.
just hit on another little
Yeah.
nugget.
Yeah,
You're
that
really
was-
mine in here.
That was at Paisley Park.
Oh, really?
And it was the director. It was I am having
Yeah, these are
one of
hard.
those moments that I can't remember.
My drummer, a drummer from the Higher Flowers, Eric Tretbar, got us on a.
Well, it was
shoot. He did
yeah, the big
Video.
video directors from Minneapolis.
Fuller.
What are their names?
Fuller.
Harder Fuller?
Harder Fuller
Fuller.
was doing
Okay.
the video, and they basically
Oh.
had the studio band, and the idea was that the whole concept of the video, I don't know if you remember it, but it's kind of sad actually. The idea was that she's with her friends in the garage playing,
We're
and
her
that was
sucky
us.
band.
We're like her punk
Oh.
rock sucky band in the garage,
Dysfunctional.
but we're friends. And then the idea is that then she becomes professional, and
Has a-
she has like the studio band, and I think the idea was supposed to make it look like it was moving forward, but the comments I heard about the video was like people were saying stuff like, oh yeah, that's the music business. Like you play fun, cool music with your friends, and then the business sucks the life out of you. You know,
Be the girl, right? Is it Be the Girl?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But
Look up Be the Girl.
yeah, that's right.
YouTube.
Right.
You'll see
and
it's on there.
At the end, I remember we were just jumping on we were jumping out over the drums.
Yeah,
and
I was throwing
smashing- Yeah.
stuff. I ran through these
So-
like wooden, and I'm like, the guy's like, freak out more. Okay.
And that was at Paisley Park.
Yeah.
Have you done a few things at Paisley Park? Or
That was, to my memory right now, that is the sole experience I feel that I had at Paisley Park.
Okay. So you didn't run. You run in a lot of different circles then, but you kind of never ran in that circle of those kind of, or you
No,
did?
we definitely run in those circles because
Okay.
going back to Melismatics, like, so Bobby Z, the drummer of, we were on his label for a while. And then Matt Fink, Dr. Fink, I played with Phil Solem and the Rembrandts with him.
I forgot all about that. Yes.
And then I'm in a band with Michael Bland,
Yeah.
who's like,
Yeah.
obviously,
Right.
highly connected to Prince. And then we, there are a bunch of other people locally too that we cross paths with
Okay.
that are from the Prince world. So no, they mean that world we do, but I just didn't, for whatever reason, have work to do there. Like it just never. My brother did. My brother works in film. He had to do some shoots for Prince and stuff, and would work there from time to time. And I know we know a lot of other people, like sound people, a lot of people that have worked with
Yeah,
Prince.
okay.
Oh, and the guy who's been mastering our records is like the guy that mastered a lot of Prince's
Oh, okay.
albums too. So, yeah, it's Minneapolis. You're gonna
Cross paths.
cross paths with.
But I thought maybe you would have been out there for
Yeah.
a couple other things, or maybe even some live shows out there or anything, but nothing much for
I
you
never
guys
went to
and-
those. Did you ever go to those? The like
after
the
parties?
parties? Yeah,
Yeah.
those after
No,
parties.
I've been invited to go, but I was too afraid to go because I had girlfriends who were like, if you we're gonna make Prince get you put you up on stage, and I was
Oh.
like, no way, I don't want that. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And I don't know, maybe I should have gone anyway and just hid in the back or run away. No one makes you go up there if you don't
Right,
want to go up there.
right.
I just.
And I always, I'll see something. Every once in a while, I'll go to a charity thing or something. There'll be an all-star band, and I hang around with Sean Sauter a lot, from the drummer for the Flamin' O's, and I always tell him, go up there, go up. And he always says, I don't belong up there. Just go take a tambourine. How many times do you get to play with these people? You're really losing a chance to go and play with some really big people in a one-time deal. I mean, you really kind of got to grab. But it seems like a lot of musicians. I don't know. Is there a border that you don't kind of just cross when people are playing live, or it seems like some people are?
I think
I'm
most.
that way because
Are
I'll
ya?
make a fool of myself. Like if I don't know the material,
Well,
I'm do bad. I'm not like a big jammer.
Right.
Even though I guess with some things it's fine. It just depends what it is. But I definitely wasn't then. And then I would throw myself. But
Yeah.
Ryan, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say. I mean, I guess personally, I don't. I love doing those things. I don't care if I'll just let's see what happens.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it is etiquette too. Like if you were personally invited to do it, then you feel like, all right, I'll
Okay.
do it. And if you weren't, it's like kind of.
you don't want
It's
it.
weird, yeah. You're like stepping on someone's stage.
Okay.
It's like you gotta like. I think there's some of that.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of musicians
I think-
don't feel like they want
Right.
to impose that on
well,
somebody.
it
but-
depends like what kind of band you are. Because remember we had a situation where an old drummer came up and asked to play Melismatic
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
I'm not going to use names, but
Well.
and because we do our thing, and you do your thing, right? And it might
Right.
just kind of like
Yeah.
off kilter it
Off-
or ruin
yeah.
the climactic
Yeah.
part
Right.
of the show. I mean, I don't care if Jeremy Obasacker wanted to come up and
Mm-hmm.
play. Come up, or whoever. I don't,
Yeah, I didn't think of that as being just a kind of an etiquette kind of thing, as stepping on someone's toes. I keep telling, like I say, I think it's the coolest thing because I'm not a musician, so I'm not
Yeah.
in that realm, But it sure seems like if you see a bunch of guys, Soul Asylum and Jayhawks and those guys get together and like a Golden Smog thing,
Yeah.
and it's not actually Golden Smog, but just a little charity thing that. I'll grab a tambourine and shake it in the back and stand there and get my picture taken with them. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a one time, you can go tell your friends you played with these people,
Yeah.
But I guess for a musician too, you're playing with people like that all the time, so it's kind of not that big of a deal, anyways. Back to the music. So, Pony, what came after? What did it go right from 100 Flowers to Mark Moman to the Melismatics, or is there anything else in between there?
I played in a lot of groups.
Oh, okay.
But mainly in the 100 Flowers arena. I mean, I played with like Ouija Radio, this other band called the Bleeding Hickeys. I played drums for them.
Oh, really? I remember them. They played around a lot.
Yeah.
Did they ever record anything?
Which one?
Bleeding Hickeys.
I think they did.
Okay.
But who else? I would just play with whoever. Like
Yeah.
I went through a phase. I was like, I'm gonna play with everybody. I don't care, whatever. I just want to play.
All right.
Yeah, there's different phases I went through, but
And Ouija Radio had some releases out. I remember they had some releases out. Are you on those releases then too, or is that kind of a mixture of bands and?
I had an
times?
opportunity to be, and then I dropped out because
Okay.
100 Flowers started to do more, and I just realized I'm spreading myself way too thin. So, and it wasn't really the direction. I mean, I love the music. It just wasn't the direction that I envisioned for myself to go
Okay.
into, and
Yeah.
that whole setup.
Let's go into a 100 Flowers song. This is called "Spread the Disease," and you said that they had put out one album. I saw this on a compilation thing that is actually where I saw it. But where did you record the album, and a little history about the recording, maybe?
We recorded at the Terrarium with Jacques Waite, and then we also recorded with Ed Ackerson at Flowers.
This one was at Flowers, I think.
Yep. This one is at Flowers. Yep.
And are you on this then, Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's his guitar.
And I do
playing all
remember,
over.
this is a funny story. I do remember City Pages said, this came out, this was like, Melismatics had a record out, at least one, if not two, and then we had one come out right after this, and it said, it sounds like the 100 Flowers guitar playing,
Oh.
and I was like, well, yeah, it does.
All right, so this will be
Yeah, it's funny.
"Spread the Disease" from 100 Flowers.
I've got that rock and roll disease, 'cause in the nighttime I get mean. And I've got that rock and roll disease, late at night I gotta be seen, I gotta be seen, yeah. I gotta be seen, I gotta be seen. Let's go! We've got that rock and roll disease. We are young, we are free. We've got that rock and roll advice. We got it made, we ain't gonna die. Never ever gonna die. Everyone, do you feel it? Hey little girl, do you need it? Every day, she said every day. And all the punk rock kids with the gangbang fears, and mothers inside with the fingers in their ears. Your king is dead on the TV set, with the motor car wars and the redneck beds. Revolution on the mind when you party all the time. The man demands that you step in line. So tell me, baby, who you gonna believe? Who you gonna believe? I've got that rock and roll disease.
and that was Spread the Disease from 100 Flowers. I'm learning a lot here today because I had no idea. I thought that was, like I said, but Ryan, you were saying you played most of the guitars, or quite a few of the guitars.
Yeah.
In the solo, and so that's, and you're doing a lot of studio work there. And is there some other stuff that you would want to mention, maybe that people would know that don't know that you were actually on it, or not so much, or is that just past history?
I mean, it's past history, but I mean, but there are people I used to work with a lot, like Phil Solomon. I did a lot of stuff. Like we would do gigs, and I'd play bass or guitar for him, and then I did have a little stint playing with Grant Hart, and then that kind of came back into fruition later, like when he was making his last record. I started playing on that again.
Wow.
And then an album that is at least currently not released, but because it was like he was writing some of his best songs like to the end. Like he kept going, and we reconnected at some point. I think we saw him at Patti Smith and at the show, hung out with him there, and then we kind of reconnected and started playing again. But it had been years before that. But other than that, there a whole bunch of like just studio projects and things like, so.
And the Melismatics, you guys did so much. You did so much touring, recording, and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it must have just been really busy because you're doing a lot with the Melismatics. They were really a busy band.
Yeah.
So I first met you with the Melismatics when Kai was doing his Teenage Rampage, and
That's right.
And now, did you have anything before? I just heard something the other day that you had a couple of solo things before there.
Oh yeah,
before?
yeah. Well, yeah, that's
is that-
really. I mean, so I had a high school band,
And your solo thing too.
Yeah. So I had a high school band that was a punk band called Stupid Jerk, and I mean that band, like, so we're teenagers, and it's like we played 7th Street Entry, the Fine Line, the Caboose, pretty much everywhere you could play as a teenager, getting kicked out after we got off stage. And then even while doing that, made a couple solo albums that I'd play all the instruments. It would be on, in those days, you'd use I only had access to cassette 4-track. So you'd do record 3 things, bounce it down.